What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Season 2 of the Liberal Gun Owners Lens podcast. I am Miyanovich, and I will be your pilot on an unprecedented ride through the most innovative and forward-thinking analysis of the relationship between humans and guns on planet Earth. The entire nexus between guns and public safety needs a wake-up call, and Liberal Gun Owners is here to rock that party. Are you somebody who thinks you know what's going on with guns and public safety? I don't give a shit. I'm dragging your ass into the future whether you like it or not.
So I did want to talk about this, because we sort of talked about it, and I always say this for everyone involved in guns. So if we look at the yin and the yang symbol, right? Mm-hmm. It's thousands of years old.
Oh, yeah.
We've been trying to figure out human nature and deal with it for thousands of years. We've employed the best minds. We have gods involved. We have Buddhas involved. We have all kinds of stuff involved in trying to deal with this. Okay. No one can solve it.
Right.
It's unsolvable.
Mm-hmm.
There's light and dark, positive, negative, masculine, feminine. Mm-hmm. There's transcendent aspects of those things mixed inside of it. And guns are a reflection of that.
Yes.
Wherever the good is with guns, the bad is with guns. Mm-hmm. And this is my main beef with the gun control people, is they want it to be something else that's never existed on this planet ever with humans, which is somehow you hermetically seal off the good and the bad with the guns thing. And you simply can't. In this culture particularly, you're not going to get rid of them. That means automatically you have a yin and a yang, and it's constant around the clock. So I think the energy that's placed into trying to make it not that is wasted energy. So I want to hear your thoughts on this. Guns, wherever you find the good, you find the bad. And one of the most intense places where Americans consider bad things is inner city African American neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And violence is one. When we say bad, when we say violence, when we say gun violence, most people are going to think about that.
Yeah.
So how do we start? Like, I want to understand you probably have the best lexicon for this, the best language. How do we understand the good and the bad from the context of being a Black person in the inner city when there's so much bad shit that goes on and we're trying to do good and we're trying to self-defend? Like, how do I start to think about that with better terms than maybe I do?
I like to get rid of the word bad and think about circumstantial. You know, when we think good or bad, we kind of put morality, if you will, into those words. But if we remove that, let me use this example and let me know if I'm too far-fetched here, but I'm going to talk about drugs for a second. In the 70s and 80s, crack cocaine, terrible. The government cracked down on it, and it was seen as a Black and brown issue, right? Because it was in the streets. We're throwing people in jail for petty crimes, but nobody's touching the big kingpins, the folks bringing it over the seas and all that kind of stuff. And I'm paraphrasing here. We fast forward, and we have a not methamphetamine, but we have a meth issue. We have opioid issues and so forth. And it's handled completely differently because now it's a disease. And so now the government steps in and says, hey, if you have this opioid issue, we can send you to a clinic. Your insurance will pay for it. We're going to cover it because the face looks different.
Yeah.
Opioids, like any other drugs, were an issue in the quote unquote Black community, but all of a sudden it's not bad. Now it is an illness, right? I believe that we're always going to have this issue as long as people look at guns that way. Once we transition guns from a crack mentality to an opioid mentality, right? And deal with the person as opposed to the thing, then I think that's going to change. But the problem with doing that is as long as people are getting paid to see it that way, it's not going to change. Guns in and of themselves are not dangerous. They are not bad. It's the image and the politics behind it that make people afraid. What they're afraid of is not even real. Yes, there's crime. Yes, just like people died of overdoses, but look at the number of people who have died of overdoses versus all of the stuff that's been in the street. And by no means am I saying drugs are good. Please don't get me wrong. Not saying that at all, but the same applies to firearms. If we would get to a place where we said, hey, the people who are dying, the people who are causing these crimes, let's deal with their issues as an issue and stop blaming it on the gun. Then we can get rid of this moral sort of polarization that we have. But until that happens, I just don't think it's going to go away. We know, sitting here and talking, it has nothing to do with the gun. Everybody who's committing crimes, these inner cities that are having issues, it's because of other things. It's because people can't pay their bills or can't feed their children. We know that. But it's interesting how certain folks just decide to ignore it. But once you put a clinic, a proverbial clinic in that place and give people what they need, all of a sudden it's no longer an issue. And the ones who continue to violate that respect for human life, we now know are sick.
Yeah. Yeah. It's what I haven't delved much into it. And maybe we'll go down the rabbit hole or maybe we won't, but it just stuck with me when, so Chad's story, Chad wasn't into guns. And then someone broke into his place and he came home and like the door was missing or it was off the hinges and he couldn't repair it. And he had to protect his apartment and the cops weren't going to come and the landlord wasn't going to fix the door and he had to go get a shotgun.
Yeah.
So I'm, the reason why I was, very heavily into Buddhism and studied with the Tibetan monks of the Drukung Kagyu for a long time. And I almost didn't have a family and I almost was a Buddhist monk with the Drukung Kagyu and was dedicated to nonviolence. I was never against guns or self-defense. It just wasn't on my radar.
Right.
I shot when I was a kid, but I got away from that because the side of my family that I did those things with, I had to get away from because they were dangerous. And so I ended up not being into the guns. But I got one of the things that I did is like a neo hippie because I'm like green builder, organic farming, like I'm into all that stuff. Mm-hmm. I moved into what most people call the ghetto. Like I moved into the edge of one of the worst parts of town to help it. Right. For almost a decade, I lived there, but there's a certain reality to that. And there's one thing when I was by myself, but then I met my wife and we started a family and we still live there. Yeah. And so I same thing as Chad, I shotgun, then pistol. And so I'm bringing that up because I want to ask you, and maybe I should have asked Chad and maybe I should ask him the next time I have him on, but he's buying that shotgun because he's protecting himself from black people. He's a black person, and he's buying that gun because he's not protecting himself from suburban white ladies coming into Detroit, kicking his door down. Right. We know that what's underneath the skin color is just humanity and behavior. Right. But it's also hard to not acknowledge that or to look at that or for me to be curious about that. Like, what is that like? Yeah. To have to fight for black empowerment, but you're defending yourself against black people. So do you have any thoughts about that? I've always wanted to ask that question.
No, I think that's a great question. I will say when it comes to defending myself, my family, in any situation, that's kind of the last thing I think about is what the person looks like or what their culture is. I'm defending against evil. I'm defending against anything and anyone who's going to come against me. And to your point, when you're in certain areas, certain, neighborhoods and so forth, you're probably going to come across people who look a certain way. But regardless of where you are, there's going to be somebody that you have to defend yourself against.
Yeah.
You know? And that's just, I think, the reality of it. We have to be careful about sort of putting a color on a condition. If I am in a neighborhood where people are not able to feed their families, I'm going to have different issues than if I'm in a neighborhood where everybody drives a Maserati. Now, the issues are different, but both still have issues. I've lived in the rough part. Me and my husband have been dirt poor and broke, and we've been well off. And I can tell you, we've had to fight in both neighborhoods.
Sure.
Especially for our children. You know, it looks different, but the fight and the fervor behind that fight is the same. We're all just trying to survive. And like you said earlier, most of us are just trying to do good and live a decent life. Yeah. And if the gun helps with that, then I'm all for anyone who chooses to have one to help them protect. That's your right as a human being, liberty and the pursuit of happiness, and to be alive and free.
Yeah, it's invigorating. I mean, it's sad. It's invigorating. My deal is I spend a lot of time in research, and before I'm done being the executive director of Liberal Gun Owners, because I can't do this forever, I'm going to have my E equals MC squared formula that I'm going to give. No one can solve it, but right. I have to study, and I do, human behavior so deeply to understand it. It all comes down to behavior.
Yes.
It all comes down to behavior. And so how do we intervene in behavior and as early as possible? That's really where it's at, is that the earlier you intervene in behaviors, the less of this stuff you have.
Absolutely.
The more that you wait, the harder it is. By the time you're trying to stop the person in the parking lot or at your door, that's the worst place to deal with it. That's why the gun is vital, but it's like the worst. It's not where we would need to be.
Absolutely. Last resort.
And we probably shouldn't go down this road, but this is the one thing that I've been researching or working on writing about is how our institutions, I think and laws and policies, we place too much emphasis on them for having magical abilities, and they just simply don't. They're slow moving, slow prodding things, and they simply are not designed for behavioral intervention at scale. They just don't have the ability. They can help with behavioral intervention, but the very notion by gun control people that somehow law is behavioral prevention is basically what they're saying, is that law is like a prohibition of ownership is behavioral prevention, or whatever it is whatever jurisprudential idea they have. It's part of the legal mythology, is that this is the power of laws. But one of the reasons why things don't get better sometimes is because we, as a country, believe that laws and government have power that they simply don't have.
Agree. Definitely agree.
So I hope this conversation and other conversations on this podcast start to break at least the people that listen and liberals out of this idea that somehow there's a way to throw laws at these problems. Yes, I mean, laws work. They just work under certain conditions.
Exactly.
And
they don't change behavior at all. What does change behavior is my ability to live free, my ability to walk in liberty, my ability to be confident that I'm protected and that I can enjoy life. That changes behavior, right? Because then I have something to look forward to. And, I counsel a lot of people for many different reasons. And I can say that when someone is downtrodden and they do feel like they are somehow just, imprisoned by life, circumstances, so forth, they don't have anything to look forward to. And they have a fight in them. Like you said, they're a spring that's just going to blow. But if we can figure out how to show people their worth and help them to understand that you have something to live for and have a positivity, and not only that, but somebody cares. A lot of this stuff, and I'm sure I'm oversimplifying it, but a lot of the violence, a lot of the things that we see, it kind of goes away because a lot of that at the root cause, it's about fear. It's about inadequacy, or it's about feeling like I don't have another choice. I still believe, although there are some evil people in this world, and we know that, but I still believe that the majority of human beings are born and want to do well and want to enjoy life, but something happens that causes them to feel like, I'm going to have to fight and I don't care anymore. Something has to happen. That's not natural. And I agree. It's not something that we can fix, but it is something I try to understand and have compassion for.
Yeah. Whatever the solution is, it's interesting that we don't hear this from politicians or people or activists. Certain people you do, but in terms of behavioral intervention, there is no more prime soil than right in that person's house, right in that person's neighborhood.
Absolutely.
The impact, behavioral impact, has to come from their proximate environment, and laws are externalities. They come from far away, and whether people imbibe them or absorb them and use them inside of their proximate reality, that's not really, kind of, maybe occasionally. I mean, we don't even do it on the highway with speed limits, but
that part.
but so we don't hear this a lot from gun people or anti-gun people. We do hear it. I do hear it from conservatives, and I don't care whether you're conservative or liberal, doesn't matter to me, or you're independent, it's fine. We do hear it from people that are more on the right about how important the family is and how important the community is. But I wish we would hear more about the actual behavioral reality here, which is you can't have the kind of behavioral intervention that you need unless it's happening right there in the person's life.
Absolutely.
And so why can't, okay, great. Do you want to ban the AR-15? Great. I don't agree with you. But why don't we first say, this is a scientific reality. Behavioral intervention must happen in the home, in the community, in the school, right there.
Right.
And there has to be resource for that. And then go ahead and try to ban the AR-15 or whatever. But we're not talking about adult science or adult reality in society unless people wake up to that.
Absolutely.
That fact. So, well, do you have any other things that you want to talk about today, or any other ideas? Because this has been great. We've covered some amazing stuff.
No, it's been great speaking with you. Nothing in particular. I thank you for the opportunity and for having such a podcast, because I think these conversations really do need to happen, and people need to hear something that's not so politicized, so we can kind of think about it, and just let it marinate, do some research, so that we can start to make change little by little, pocket here, pocket there, and sooner or later we'll meet in the middle.
Yeah. And I appreciate you because I don't know what your experience is, but I have to deal with crazy gun people like all the time. So it is so nice to be around a sane gun person. Talk to you. This is like, this will keep me going. Oh, refresh. I'll be like, oh, and I talked to Joy and that was great. And, so I really appreciate you. I appreciate everything you're doing and the energy and all that. And I'll make sure I get the word out. And I would love to continue a friendship and relationship with you via the email. Because my whole thing here is I'm going to build, I call it like a casual think tank. And I already have some great heads in this thing, real world beaters. And you're definitely a world beater. And I would love to get you in on this. And I want to forge a samurai sword of brains that is a standard. So when people say, we got to deal with this issue, well, you better talk to Randy and liberal gun owners in that think tank and that network, because there's no better heads on the planet to deal with guns or public safety. They're the best heads on the planet. You need to talk to that. That's what I'm doing. That's my gig. I would love for you to help us and to be a part of that and be a part of symposiums and conversations and papers and research and all of that stuff. It would be great.
My pleasure. This is what I love to do and why I'm doing it. So
watch what you say, though, Joy. Watch what you say. Watch what you commit to with me, because I will remind you said it.
That's okay. I'm good.
Okay. All right, cool.